Hi gang, and it's me again, Nikki, and I am back with some more author questions. It's that time of the month. I know it's gone quick, hasn't it? So, question 37, we'll kick off straight away, no messing around. Do you use beta readers? How many? The short answer is not really. I mean, occasionally when he's been less busy, I've been reading some of my stories to my husband in early drafts, but I mean, the last year or so he's been so busy with stuff of his own that we've not done that so much. I've only used beta readers on 2 occasions, and then only one beta reader per story. The first one was the first trans piece I wrote. When Ben Brock very kindly read it for me, I was just concerned I needed a sensitivity reading to make sure that I was presenting the character in a way that wasn't going to upset or offend anyone. And he very kindly looked at that for me and gave me some positive feedback. And the only other one was Bram Hall, which I did send to a friend of mine to read, a fellow author. Just because I wanted to make sure the story was coming across okay, because I had a lot of background history of the characters that I didn't want to info dump in the story, and I needed to be sure that there was enough of it for people to understand what was going on, and not that I just assumed there was because I knew all the other stuff that wasn't included in my head. So that's the only time. I don't really use them. I'm a little bit secretive, I have to say. I am very secretive about my works until they actually come out, when I'll happily share excerpts and bits and pieces at that point. But yeah, I do tend to hold my writing until it's all official and contracts are signed and it's definitely happening. I like to keep it to myself. I'm sorry, there's a lot of banging. I think one of my neighbours is doing some sort of yard work, so I hope it's not too noisy. We'll move straight along anyway. Question 38. It's summer. Now, in fact it will be, because I've got a note here. This one's probably going to be posted in February, which will be summertime for me here in Australia. So it's sort of right, even though for some of you guys in Europe and North America, you'll be in winter and thinking, what the hell is she talking about? But it is summer. It will be. It's winter for me as I'm filming this, but it will be summer. So what's on my summer reading list? I have to be honest, I'm filming this a bit in advance, so I don't know what I'll be reading. It also tends to depend, because I don't really think, what books are coming out. I don't really work like that with my reading. I always get a big batch of books from friends and family in December because of my birthday and Christmas. So it depends what I get from that. I'll very likely be reading some of those, whichever ones they buy from my book depository wish list. But I obviously can't tell yet what they're going to be. And then I also do a huge amount of reading via NetGalley. And so what I'm reading at the time will depend on what's been listed on there, what I've requested, which ones the publishers have approved my request for. So yes, it's maybe what I'll do is when I put this video up, I'll film you a little addendum before I post it, or else put a little note in the text underneath the video, and just maybe give you 3 or 4 books that are on my TBR pile for the coming weeks. How about that? Question 39. Do you use critique groups or writers groups, and are they helpful? The same as the beta readers, no I don't really. I mean, I'm in writers groups in terms of just chatting about writing, and support groups in terms of things like promotion and just general chit chat amongst writers. But I'm not really in any groups where we share our work and critique each other's work or anything like that. And again, that comes down to my, secrecy thing, that I don't like sharing my work around too much until it's finished and is going to be published. Question 40. What kind of scenes do you find most difficult to write? I don't think there's anything that particularly jumps out at me. I mean, I'm not someone who would say they have trouble with sex scenes, fight scenes or anything like that. I've done a good mix. I've done some fight scenes. I do plenty of sex scenes. I can't really think of anything just off the top of my head that is something I think, I always struggle with that. It will depend on the story. Like, some stories flow a lot better than others. Some Ragnarok Chronicles, I just wrote, and it just kept coming. That's why it's so huge. But other stories, maybe I'll have to put it aside for a week or so, because I've not written myself into a corner, but I've just reached a point where I'm can't quite decide where to go next year, and sometimes you just need a few days to mull it over in your head. But that's just more of a general plotting thing, because I don't plot in advance. I work things out as I go. So no, there's nothing really that I would say is always difficult as a type of scene. Question 41. What was it like when you published your first story? Well, I was really excited, obviously. Couldn't wait to tell all my friends and family. It was only a little short story, but I was so thrilled and so proud. When you finally see it there up online on Amazon and that for the first time with your name next to it, that's a wonderful feeling, and anyone who's published a work will understand that. And if you're a budding author who's yet to be published, I'm sure you're looking forward to that moment yourself. It is a great moment, and even now, like I've had quite a few books out, it's still great that on release day when you know your book's out there and is available for readers at last. And finally for today, question 42. Does political correctness have a place in your writing? I think political correctness is always a thorny subject for me, because on the one hand I agree with it. I think, we don't want to go back to a time where certain groups or certain types of people were treated appallingly, but at the same time we've reached a point where it's going too far, I think, and it's now like everything offends someone, and it's impossible. You can't never offend anyone. You can do your best, you try to be kind, you try to be considerate, but at the end of the day, perhaps I'm really offended by people eating pumpkin seeds. And if I read a book and someone's eaten pumpkin seeds, the way things are going these days, as a reader, I'd be writing, why wasn't I warned that someone was eating pumpkin seeds? That should be a warning. I mean, that's an extreme example, but that is the way things are heading, it seems. And things like major warnings for big things like rape that would definitely trigger and upset people, fair enough. But it is getting silly. I saw someone once, a reader was complaining because they hadn't been warned there was magic use in a book, and it was a paranormal book, and the blurb said there were witches. So, I mean, it just seems silly to me. You've chosen to read a paranormal novel with witches, and then you complain that no one warned you there would be magic use. So, and it's all part of political correctness, and some of that's come from fan fiction culture, the way you tag and warn everything on fan fiction. And I think it has a place to an extent, but I'm worried that we're going past that sort of sweet spot, if you like, and going into sort of ridiculous ground these days. So I would say that I always try to be considerate in my books. I would never bag another culture. I would never be rude about people of different gender or different race, different religion. That's just not who I am personally. I believe everyone should be given a fair go, and everyone should be free to believe what they want to believe and do what they want to do, so long as they're not adversely hurting or affecting others. But there are limits with political correctness, and I would hope that there's nothing in any of my books in any case that would upset people. But I think we've all got to accept somewhere along the line, like my example with the pumpkin seeds, I can't expect that no one ever is going to have one of their characters eat pumpkin seeds. And so when you're reading, for me, reading is about broadening your horizons and understanding different points of view and different cultures. And you may not agree with the author's stance, you may not agree with things the characters say and do, but that doesn't mean that there's something wrong with the book, or that we have to vilify the book or the author. It's just different from your own perspective, but that's part of what's great about reading. I read plenty of things where I think, well, I don't share that view, but it's interesting to see where that person's coming from and how they're portraying this character, even if it isn't something that I'd want to get involved in myself. So I think I've been a bit long-winded there, but hopefully you see what I mean. I think it's a slippery slope, and so I would say, yes, I'm politically correct to an extent that I try to be considerate, and I would try never to offend anyone. I certainly wouldn't do it on purpose, but I can't spend all my time worrying that one little thing is going to offend some single person out of the billions on the planet. So it's a balance, I think, is my sort of final point on that. So that was a slightly charged end to the questions, wasn't it? I'm sure there'll be people that want to disagree with me on this point, but that's why we all put our views out there, just so we can express them and talk about them and discuss. So if you have any thoughts of your own on the political correctness issue, pop them in the comments because I'd be interested to read them. And I will be back again next time and we'll do questions 43 through to 48. Bye for now.